Hello, friends. Today is March 5th, and we're going for a speed run on Level 1 text because it's snowing and we have to set up a VR thing for the stream.
Would you call this Level 2 news?
You would.
Let's get right to it.
Let's go.
Let's go. This was talked about before, the old merger. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You can't stop it.
This is what we talked about last week. The U.S. Department is going to let AT&T and Time Warner merge because they lost. They lost their court case.
Quick synopsis. It's bad.
It's bad for the consumer.
Moving on, we've got another thing that is from the past news.
Microsoft CEO defends the Pentagon contract following employee outcry. They only had 50 employees sign this, which was the most surprising thing to me in this.
Is it bad? I don't know. I don't feel bad about it.
This is different, I think, than the weaponizing AI in my mind.
But they're basically saying what you're saying. Yeah, 50 people signed that, but guess what? It's a lot of money. We're going to do it.
Yeah.
Another follow-up story. New York has come back begging like a jilted lover.
New York makes its pitch again for Amazon's HQ2. CNET's got the scoop. So yeah, Amazon has pulled out of New York, and New York is saying, no, come back. Wait, please.
It was a series of businesses. Like, it was all like banks, wasn't it? Who were like, please, no, bring your money back.
Well, you kind of get the impression these are people who had already spent the money.
Also, construction companies were factoring heavily.
And well, the governor and the mayor, there were always people who were for this. But you can, I feel like handshakes have been made.
Rich.
Yeah. And so that interrupted a lot of plans.
And now it's going to Arlington, Virginia.
Well, there was always going to do that.
Well, I don't know. I misread that article then.
In Washington, they have cyberstalking laws. But do they go too far?
The judge says that yes, indeed, they do go too far because they're ambiguous. This cyberstalking law violates free speech. Not that you can't have a law against cyberstalking. It's just that you could drive a bus through the vague language. Seems to be the judge's main problem with this legislation.
Some activist was harassing a military guy. And I couldn't tell which one was using it against the other one. But the judge is like, this proves that this is just being used sort of to harass in itself because it's so vague. I mean,
the judge did go out of its way to say that public officials can't be harassed because you're a public official.
Which public officials are the ones who are making that law. They would love it. Can't do level 1 news or level 2 news as it might be without Elon Musk and more bad news.
Elon Musk should be held in contempt for a tweet, as the SEC tells judge. This has to do with like the 500 cars thing. Now, I got this wrong because I read another version of this that said
it was a positive spin article.
Yeah, that was like, hey, he said that in the call. But when you actually look at the transcript of the call, not so much.
He says 350 to 500, which is materially different, but it doesn't matter. He agreed during the last little faux pas that he made, all of his tweets that said anything about guidance would be approved by the board.
That tweet was not approved.
Did not submit.
Well, listen, if it's 3 a.m. and you're drunk and you need to tweet, you can't have it be board approved. You have to tweet it immediately.
I think they would be okay if he woke him up after all
that.
I understand his compulsion on a psychological level, but you're just going to have to take his Twitter away.
Krista, 10 seconds. Who is the character closest to Elon Musk from Middle-earth?
Oh, that's a good question. Maybe Fëanor. A great creator, but also insane and led his people to ruin.
We're out of time, Krista.
Tell us why you agree or disagree in the comments.
Thailand is a place where some people go for very bad things. But they're somehow going to be more protective over things that would be related to that.
Thailand has passed an internet security law decried as a cyber martial law. So basically, this is very similar to what has been declared in China and a little similar to what has been declared in the U.S. in terms of like law enforcement cooperation, except that what exactly cooperation you have to do, not spelled out. It's just up to the military. They can show up and be like, hey,
well,
you gotta help us.
They did say what they could do, which is
basically anything.
Kick in your door, take all your equipment, make copies of it, spy on your network, break into your network through the network, whatever they want to do.
Break into your office and continue to run your equipment without you even being there. That was the scary one. Like, really scary.
Yes. More news about Facebook. This is a Facebook-heavy episode in case you're not ready for that. And this is out of the EU.
A European data privacy office has 15 open investigations. 10 are about Facebook. And they go on to say that the scope is very wide. So, like, the more they peel back the linoleum, the more cockroaches come out from behind the wallpaper.
Do you think the people who are on the 5 other cases are really disappointed they don't get to like work on the Facebook cases?
I would be excited because I'm not going to get the attention from those law enforcement
That's true.
people. And
Yeah.
we're basically going to get away with whatever.
You're just working against like one little tiny small business versus all the Facebook cases.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to think the Facebook executives are getting ready to crumble because the walls are closing in on them. Like, the deeper you look, the more horrifying it's going to be. We've always said that.
Here's a question. Who decides what constitutes negative behavior?
The teacher. That's what I tell the 3-year-olds.
Well, you have
I'm the
something in
teacher.
common with the bureaucrats of Canada.
Police in Canada are tracking people's negative behavior in a risk database. This database includes detailed but de-identified, in quotation marks, because not really, information about people's lives culled from conversations between police, social services, health workers, and more. So yeah, the Canadians are literally building the type of database that we see in China and other places and putting you at risk. And look, you got a table here. This is like, can we please get these people to read 1984 or Aldous Huxley's A Brave New World, some combination of those?
Do you think those have been translated into Canadian?
That's a good point.
It's hard to read any books when your hands are covered in syrup.
So what happens here is if they deem your behavior negative enough, and who knows what the threshold is, you'll get a visit. And they did say that some visits have resulted in arrest or hospitalization or maybe just a stern lecture.
Who knows which one you're going to get?
You never know.
Maybe you'll get sent to the snow pit.
Could one of them be syrup?
Just covered in syrup. Instead of tarred and feathered,
Well,
you're
that's a
syrup
human
and
right
feathered.
in Canada. You get your syrup supply at the beginning of every month.
Oh, okay.
Just to keep you alive.
It's like the baby boxes in Finland.
Can't have a Level 1 news episode without 5G. And this time, it's more about Intel and bad news for China.
Intel has killed its 5G deal with China's Unigroup over U.S. security concerns. I was surprised in Intel's press communication. They're blaming Brian Krasenich for this, the former CEO. They're like, this is Brian's idea. He was really the champion. We're going to distance ourselves from China. Yeah.
That seems like a convenient scapegoat.
Yeah, it sure does, doesn't it?
It does.
Well, you can tell by the way some people in China walk that they're wanted criminals.
Chinese police are testing gait recognition technology from an AI startup called Watrix that identifies people based on how they walk. We talked about them before.
They're doing it now.
Their technology has progressed. And
Well, the police are actually testing it.
It seems like it works really well based
It's
on
out
the
there.
demo.
They did say that you can, like if you had a skirt or something on and it covers part of your legs,
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter because they're looking at your whole body. You remember, I wonder if the Chinese criminals, remember in Dune, they would sandwalk,
Yeah.
so your cadence couldn't be predictable by the sandworms. Will the Chinese criminals develop the sandwalk to get away from the gait recognition?
It's funny, there was a YouTube video, I don't know how I got down this rabbit hole, but there's a YouTube video from the former CIA director that talks about gait recognition, and apparently that's a thing that's known already. Maybe there were human gait recognizers, I don't know.
Oh, they talk about
Putting a pebble in your shoe.
DARPA is
Yeah.
the first one to come up with it. So it wasn't actually the Chinese who came up with the idea.
It came from America.
But they saw it and they were like, brilliant. That's exactly what we like
They
to
honed
do.
it in, yeah.
The other thing about China is they get accused of stealing things a lot.
Like gait recognition technology.
And maybe as much as 20%.
1 in 5 corporations say that China has stolen their IP within the last year. This is a CNBC CFO survey. So the article doesn't make really a lot of concrete claims that are independently verifiable, which is disturbing because it's like, look, they got the graph here.
But here, what's wrong with this graph?
It's more than 100%.
What's wrong with the options?
It's yes in the past year, yes in the past 2 to 5 years, yes in the past 6 to 10 years, and don't know.
The two options are yes and I don't know. There's one missing. There might be a little goal seeking going on there. Or maybe just nobody said no. I kind of doubt that.
Kind of doubt that too.
In Chinese relations, Huawei is big news. And the Huawei case is progressing at a snail's pace, but the snail has made one slimy little step forward, or shimmy or crawl or whatever snails do.
Yeah, Meng Wanzhou, that's the Huawei chief executive. She can be extradited from Canada, Canada says. So the U.S. has made its case, and it looks like she can be extradited. The Chinese officials, the response was described as steadfast opposition or something like that. It sounds pretty gloomy.
They did say that the appeals process could take up to a decade. and Canadian extradition.
Now,
So-
it seems to me that the securities, like the trading with Iran type charges, are on a lot more solid footing unless we get more evidence. But Huawei has made concessions to try to get the trading with Iran thing cleared up. So
Trump has put it on the table. He will pardon her if the trade talks go his way. So, I mean, I don't know if that really speaks much toward justice, but CRISPR babies. We are
The
going
crispiest
to,
of babies.
We're going to see so much of these CRISPR babies. They're going to be the hottest news item in the universe. But in China,
But not in China.
not so much.
gene-edited babies is one of the most censored topics on Chinese social media. Other sensitive topics in 2018 include a vaccine scandal and a physician jailed for criticizing traditional Chinese medicine. Wow. That's a little disturbing.
I cannot
I
see.
didn't read that subheadline.
Do you think the Chinese people are not aware of these babies? They have to be, right?
Yeah. Well, presumably, if it was necessary to censor them, a lot of people are searching for them. So
Yeah.
Maybe
Or
some-
maybe they all just watched Gattaca. You know, it just takes a few years for the media to filter over.
See, I think this would have been fertile ground for Star Trek, because in the Star Trek universe, they always talk about the period when humanity started experimenting with genetic manipulation, and that, you know, they refer to that as like the eugenics wars. I think that would have been great instead of Discovery. for a
What have
series.
you done to the Lego man?
I lost his
Speaking
hair.
of genetics, he's now balding.
Not only is he balding, he has a face on the back of his head.
He's a CRISPR baby gone very, very wrong.
This is my Lego Marty McFly. Thank you very much.
I think your obsession with the Lego man has something to do with your withdrawal symptoms from Twitter. So this story will interest you.
Twitter has confirmed it's working on a hide tweet feature, so you can hide a tweet so that you don't have to block somebody or unfollow somebody in order to stop seeing replies and stuff to that tweet. Because
Well, the question is, now this is going to be a response to your tweet, so it's going to be under it.
yeah,
Does it hide it for everybody else? Twitter's not saying, but from the
No.
language, it sounds like it could.
So you could hide old offensive tweets that you did?
No, not you. So you make a tweet and someone counters it with a fact, you just hide that.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Neat.
You know who's going to love that?
Businesses, because I have businesses ask me about that all the time.
Mr. Donald Trump.
He probably won't be allowed to do that.
You know who is real butthurt that Twitter is so successful? BlackBerry.
Which who knew
Remember
BlackBerry was still a thing?
Well, they're not. They're trying to stay relevant in any way possible.
Reuters has this article that BlackBerry is suing Twitter for patent infringement. They've also already sued Google and Microsoft. Or is it, they sued a couple other people. BlackBerry is dying, and this is what happens when a company is dying. They're like, look, our
This-
intellectual property.
It has to do with ads, I think, how they serve the ads.
And direct messaging.
Yeah, so
BlackBerry has some cool technology they've invented that they've patented, and this doesn't seem to me to be that innovative.
if you make a lot of comments on Reddit and you feel like you deserve fame for your amazing Reddit comments, your time may be soon.
Reddit tests tipping users starting with Mr. Hell in a cell. Reddit experiment moves beyond upvotes into actual money. So on this one subreddit that belongs to this one guy who he replies to things, but then the reply morphs into like a scene from something.
It's the Undertaker Mankind Hell in a Cell match from my favorite one. Have you ever read the guy that all of his comments are, and it's completely unexpected every time, and they go back to his dad beating him with jumper cables?
There's another guy like that, Vargas, who like the reply sounds normal for the first 2 or 3 sentences, and then it just gets really weird.
Yeah.
And then you check the username, and it's Vargas.
There's a lot of those guys, and you can. He's already made $75 as of the posting of that story.
Quit his job, man. It's time to quit
Do
your
you think he
job.
has one?
Wow.
Gab, the Twitter alternative wannabe, has decided that they're going to take things further, and they want to fight the suppression of the opinion of the public.
Gab wants to add a comment section to everything in the internet. So this is a browser plugin, basically. And whatever thing you happen to be browsing, Gab's going to look that up and give you comments. Now, Gab's going to know what you're looking at. So it's totally not going to be useful from an analytics or monitoring standpoint.
However,
But it's open source.
I would love that, though.
You got it. It's open source, so if they are sending data back, we'll know it. So that's something. Well, I guess
You
once
can't
once
not
they
send
get
data
it,
back.
once they get it, they can do what they want with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you will have to have this installed. But kind of cool.
I think
I like having comment sections on sites. I think that's useful.
there was a plugin, a browser plugin that did this same thing that I could not find. I think it's long since defunct, but probably 10 years ago, there was a plugin that did something really similar for the browser.
But that's going to be like Article 13, GDPR.
Probably.
That's going to be impossible, right?
One would think. Maybe not. Depends on how it's implemented.
We have seen YouTube basically just piss its own pants and roll around crying about the child predators and what are they going to do about them. And the answer is just lock everything down, lock everybody out.
So many stories about that this week.
But it turns out it's not just YouTube who is suffering from this ridiculous thing. It's also TikTok.
TikTok to pay a record $5.7 million fine from the FTC for alleged violations of the children's privacy law. So children using TikTok, whatever, we don't care.
Against the terms of service, by the way, if you're under 13.
No one would ever check the box if they were under 13. That would never happen.
That was their legal argument. That did not work.
Yeah. As it turns out, anyone would do that. Literally anyone.
Just get your stupid children off the internet. You're ruining everything. Stop it. It's always good to be number one. I can't think of any time it's not great to be number one.
Oh, wait. Instagram is now the number one platform for child abusers.
You think they'll have any?
They probably have a
marketing campaign based on this.
It's talking about grooming, like seeking out children to groom them so that they will be ready.
That is not where you pick fleas off of them.
Yeah,
no,
that's different.
You're basically raising them up to be your sex doll.
Which once again,
grim.
They did talk about teenage girls were the most likely targets, but it would go as low as low as what, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Not terms of service. You're not allowed to use it. TikTok is. We failed to mention TikTok is making a child TikTok specifically for them.
Do you really need to be connected to your friends when you're 5 years old, all the time?
No. You should be locked in a closet.
Well, is it
I was when I was a kid?
Is it a form of child abuse? Because can a 5-year-old figure out that technology and use it?
Oh, absolutely. Have you ever seen a kid use a tablet?
No. Modern kids
they're actually
all
very
over that shit.
It's kind of scary.
I mean, tablets are basically babysitters at this point, so they're going to be learning sooner and sooner.
Well, they don't understand the repercussions of.
Yeah, they don't understand the ins and outs of it, but they can absolutely operate it. No problem.
That's why it's so easy to groom them.
It's almost like they're young and gullible, and no one's taught them about that kind of stuff because it's not age appropriate. They shouldn't be having to think about that yet.
How long until we have a serial killer that's doing that, and it's the tablet told me to kill mommy and dad?
0
That's a
seconds.
thing. That's already
happening right
happening.
now. Yeah,
That Momo challenge.
That kid exists right now. Facebook and Telegram. They need to make payments to each other. What are they going to do? Cryptocurrency, of course.
They're going to create a new cryptocurrency. Facebook and Telegram are hoping to succeed where Bitcoin fails.
This is the best piece of stock
I was just going to say
we've ever had for a Bitcoin story.
10 seconds, Krista. Critique this and offer a better alternative.
I can't, this is really cool. It's animated, it's simple, and it gets the idea across without having, you
like
fake
this
currency.
one?
Yeah, I think this is good.
No, you're wrong.
It's better than just, a coin with the Bitcoin thing on it.
We're on Patreon, and a lot of people
we are.
vilify us for that because they don't like Patreon, or they just don't like e-begging, as they call it.
We've gone to Ko-fi as well.
But I don't
Speaking
think
of e-begging.
Don't think that would make them feel any better.
Yeah.
But guess who wants to get into this game as well?
Facebook wants up to 30% of fan subscriptions versus Patreon's 5%. So TechCrunch has a very long article that I can sum up in a couple of sentences. And that is basically, Facebook is so out of touch, they actually think this will work.
Well, it's not even just 30%. They also want all the rights to your stuff, even if you decide not to be part of this program anymore. So you can decide, you know what, I don't really want to get paid through Facebook anymore. But they'll still have rights to all your content.
Great. You licensed all your content to us. We can use it for whatever.
Forever. Remember
that time that Facebook was spying on teenagers?
Yes.
But it was okay because it was only 5%. Actually, less than 5%.
Facebook admits 18% of the research spyware users were teens, not less than 5%. Whoops.
Our test has determined that, too, was a lie.
Where's Ron Howard when you need him to narrate these things? It was less than 5%. It's in fact, it was 18%.
This was wrong.
Facebook has a problem with data privacy. But
you don't say.
Do they purposely have a problem with data privacy? They would say no. Leaked documents reveal otherwise.
The Guardian, this is sort of late breaking news at the time we're filming this, but Facebook's global lobbying against data privacy laws. So Facebook is organizing and they're saying, look, we're in this business of selling data. and we have to be able to monetize it, and we need to work against global laws like GDPR to because that, you know, to prevent them from controlling how we use our data, because that hurts our bottom line.
I like one of the documents, they were targeting female politicians, and it's like, as a strong female, I'm sure that you've read Sheryl Sandberg's book, and based on that book, you need to stop fucking around with Facebook. Do you want to be deboosted? That sounds like a bad thing to be, right? Well, if you're on Facebook and you have conservative views, it may have already happened to you.
An ex-Facebook employee has leaked dozens of troubling docs suggesting that censorship of conservatives. So they're basically looking at conservatives, and it's like, oh, that's weird. They've all been tagged with this like deboost tag. So whenever they go on a live stream or whatever, it's not going to reach as much of their audience as it normally would.
It was
literally all conservatives too. She said she looked at some of the other more like left-leaning stuff, and none of them had that tag.
Reduce live distribution was the keyword that this person saw, and they were like, I don't know enough about the programming to tell you exactly what that does, but just from the wording of it, I can't imagine that it does anything other than something to hide them.
Now, having worked on some really old code bases, that thing could be making waffles in the background. You don't know. I mean, it might have started out as that.
But it is interesting that she said even when she looked up other accounts, it was always on right-leaning. Not even far left stuff was tagged with that.
It's probably true, but...
Well, the tech world is overwhelmingly liberal. That's no secret.
Yeah.
So, Facebook, we talked about last week, they promised during the Cambridge Analytica scandal a clear history button where you could get rid of all that juicy advertising data, but they've not given it to anybody. They read that article too, and they had to respond.
Facebook says that the clear history tool is going to hurt its advertising business. Slate says, good.
This is another case of, this is not a press release. This was the Facebook guy talking to it was like a financial consortium, bankers and investors. And he was like, heads up, guys. If we have to do this, it is going to cost everybody a lot of money. So just be aware of that. Now, to the public, they would never say such a thing. So got to listen to what people say during the conference call. And finally, Facebook moderators.
This almost went in nonsense.
Imagine what you have to look at if you are a Facebook moderator. It's some terrible stuff.
Yeah.
And it has terrible effects.
Facebook moderators are routinely high and joke about suicide to cope with job. This has been updated. I don't know that I've read the update. When I read it, there was no update here, but
I read this morning. I think the update was something really minor.
This was a story about Facebook moderators really having trouble looking at and digesting the content that people post.
Let's itemize what has been recorded as going on, and this is not Facebook employees.
This is a third party company that they hired.
They smoke weed pretty much all the time. They have sex in the building constantly.
In the stairwells, it said like closets,
bathrooms.
Everywhere. Yeah.
The lactation room.
Which I assume is for nursing mothers. And can you imagine, you need to go like pump breast milk, and it's like, oh, dude, come on.
They have
there comes the monetization.
They have dark suicidal humor, gallows humor.
No, that's kind of something that happens in our office. But.
Well, but like EMTs and cops are famous for that because they see the worst of humanity. But they have also begun to fall victim to the fake news. They've adopted all of the conspiracy theories. They're flat earthers now. They believe in all sorts of alien conspiracies.
Some guy was like, no, 9/11, that was a hoax.
It's a little disturbing.
How do we do? 23 minutes.
Ooh.
Yeah. Stay tuned for tomorrow for more lightning fast Level 2 news.